Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Tiger Connect event for Ask the Experts. You've got myself, Richard, and
myself, Matt. Good morning, everyone.
We've got a list of predefined questions today that we're going to go through, but as you've seen me pop in the chat there, if you've got any other questions or comments, do put them in the chat. I'm monitoring it. If we've got time today, we'll include them. If not, we'll have a chat with you afterwards. So just to give you a quick background about ourselves, so I'm the Head of Service Management here at Tiger. I've been here a little over 3 years, and I'm responsible for all the service functions within Tiger.
And myself, Matt, I'm the Technical Product Lead, and I've been Tiger many, many years, and here to answer all your questions that have come in.
Okay, we will go. So first things, thank you to everyone who's registered to attend today. As you can see, it's quite a varied list of customers we've got on the event today. And yeah, as I say, we've got some really good questions to run through. We're going to go straight into it with the first question. So we've had a question from Robert from West Suffolk Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust. And we want to be able to report exceptions, for example, where the channels were fully utilised in order to identify bottlenecks. Now, we're just going to do a quick slide on this one before we go into our demo platform to actually show you.
Yes, so what I'm going to be doing is just explain to you about what seizures are and what concurrent max seizures are. So when we go and look at the reports and we look at setting up an alert on this, it makes a little bit more sense of what's happening. So the grid below represents 3 trunks, whether this be a SIP trunk, whether this be a physical trunk on an ISDN 30. So each line here represents a trunk, and a red square represents talk time on that trunk. So when we're looking at concurrent max, if you imagine each second on your trunks, your concurrent max on this graph will be 3. So at 12 and 3 seconds, you'll see there were 3 red grids filled in. Therefore, that's your concurrent max because all of your channels were active at that time. Therefore, we can count 3 here, and it was at the max for 1 second because your color grids in here were active or all filled in for 1 second. So this is just an explanation of what we mean by concurrent max. And the seizure seconds, when we look at this as well, is if we take this grid as a whole, how many of these, each individual grids are filled in with a red color. So in this example below, there are 12. So there were 12 seconds out of the available 24 seconds or 24 grids here that were seized. Okay, so it's just an explanation before we go on and look at Prism. So how do we take this information in Prism and report against it? So I'm just going to back here and go into Prism. So within the telephony module here, under reports and under traffic, there is a report already available called channel group utilization. And the channel group utilization takes all of the values from your channel groups. So what we'll do is we'll first set our dates. So I'll say from the 1st of April to today, or you can use your predefined date selector here. You can also choose weekdays, time zones. You can pick particular hours as well. And importantly here, you can choose which channel groups that you're looking for. So if you're looking only on a particular CDR source, or you're looking for a particular channel group, you can come in here and you can select all the ones that you would like to see. If you want to see everything, don't select it, and it will select everything by default. And you can also choose which codec you want to calculate on, and I'll come to this in a second. I'll just choose one at random here and click generate. So what this will do then is generate this report. I'm just going to make this slightly bigger so that you guys can see the data set here. So what it will do is give you the channel group name, An asterisk here if you hit your maximum capacity. So within the system, which I'll show you in a second, you can set how many channels are available within your system. So you'll see here, if I look at this GBR one, I've left this on purpose. I've said that there's one channel available, but yet we've got to 3 maximum concurrent calls. So again, looking back at the image we looked at before, that was consecutive. There were 3 active calls on a channel. How many seconds it was at the max for, so for 1 second. And then there's some calculations here about, based upon the codec we chose, how many kilobits we would need to handle that, the amount of traffic at its peak, how many calls, and the total occupancy. So again, how many seizure seconds there were over the period you selected. So I'm looking at this one here though, going, well, that's not quite right here because my available channels is 1 and my maximum concurrent is 3. So how do I fix this? So I click on the main menu here. I go to my network tile. I go to my channel groups. I find my channel group that I've got configured wrong. So this one here says available channels 1. I come into here, I say, actually, it has 4 channels available to me. So I configure that, click save. Now, when I go back to my report, by going back home, again, going to telephony and reports, traffic, channel group utilization, setting my dates again, so back to here, and clicking generate, you'll now see my asterisk has disappeared from the max capacity state. So has it hit max capacity? It now says I've got 4 channels available and I use 3 of those. Okay. Once you have your report, as per all of the reports, you have 2 options available to you. You can export this data or you can print it from here. The other thing that you may want to do is schedule it. And we'll cover scheduling a bit later on here, but you can also schedule this. So you may get this report on a daily basis, but let's say we want to get an alert if we've either hit capacity or we're getting very close to capacity. So how do we do this? So under analytics here, and on the left-hand side, you've got seizures. And in here, you'll have all of these things that I showed on the slide, including things like concurrent max. So if I look at this month, for example, here, you'll see that all of these fields get included our concurrent max. So what we can do is we can sort to see when we were getting to our concurrent max. It will then give us our CDR source, our channel group, the quarter hour bin that happened on, so between 9 and 9:15, and the date that happened. Okay, so I now want to be alerted when this happens. So what I can do is say, right, well, send me an alert when my concurrent max is greater than or equal to 3. Okay, so if I know that I've got 4 channels available on all of my channel groups, send me an alert when a channel group gets to a concurrent max of 3 and above. So I set this, and what I can now do is I can set what's called an alert job. Some of you may not have this available. If you don't, please reach out to us. We can speak with your account manager to enable alerting for you. It is an additional module, but if we click on the alert job here, click confirm, and then you'll need to follow the wizard. Now, to follow the wizard, we simply either click on the numbers at the top here, or in the bottom right hand corner, there'll be a next. Now, I've set my concurrent max on the previous screen. It's brought the detail across. So I can now click onto my details and give this a name. So calls over 3 max
So this is the name that when it's delivered to you, it will show as
correct. Yes, this is in your inbox here, and you can put a description in here as well if you want to. So when you come back to look at it, you know what it is.
The description, I guess, is also handy if you're setting the alert for someone else. If you're an administrator, they'll
understand what's going on. Yeah. So in the schedule, when do I want to run? So we want to run forever. And when do we want to start this one? So we'll start this from now. And we want to check every 15 minutes whether we got to the concurrency in the of over 3 as our concurrency. So every 15 minutes, go and check this. And in our target data, what we want to be doing is checking the previous. So here it says an offset of an hour, and I'll show you in a second. We'll set that to the previous hour. So every 15 minutes, go and check the last hour to see whether we went over a max of 15. Now, the reason we'd set this to an hour is long-running calls, etc. They need to be processed and so on. So it'd be worth doing it every hour. So at 10:11:33, it will go and check the previous hour to see if there were any seizures hitting a max of or over 3.
Now, Matt, I guess if there isn't the alert to be generated because it didn't hit the level, this doesn't mean you get an email every 15 minutes.
No, it doesn't. No. So what you would get is nothing. So only when that is then hit that you will get the email.
Yes.
So who do we want to email it to? So you click on the 2 button here, or you type in the email address. So you just pick from here. You choose who it's going to, and then you click confirm. Sorry, you double click on it, sorry, and then click confirm, and it will then add the email address in here, or you can just type in your email addresses here. Failure notifications are if there was a problem with the job, who do you want to alert? So normally that would go to your Tiger administrator. In your delivery options, how do you want it delivered? So do you want an attached email? Do you want to see a preview of what's in the attachment on the screen here? Do you want to split the files, etc.? Now, you should never get to 50,000 rows, but that's it is in there as an option. Click next. It will then give you a summary of what's going to happen in the screen here. And you then scroll all the way to the bottom and click submit. Just as a note, there is the option to create another job. So what you can do is when you click this to yes and click submit, it will take you all the way back to the beginning of the wizard where you can make slight changes to the job, but you won't then have to manually go and type other things in. So I'm just going to click no to that there, and that will then create an alert. So every 15 minutes, we'll be checking the last hour period. Did you get to a concurrency of more than 3? And it will then send an alert to you. Or as I said, you can then schedule your job to run maybe at the end of the day. So you could look at all of your channel groups to see whether you've hit concurrency on those.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, we'll move on to our next question. So we're going to stay in the alerts area of the system. So this was from Tim from Saga. So we get more questions from the complaints teams about customers who say they've waited for 20 minutes and they've got hold of anyone. Is there a quick way of finding these calls? Now, this is a common scenario actually we have with the majority of customers.
Yeah, so I'm going to start, first of all, with a report. Under reports, under the incoming reports, you've got the departmental answer performance report here. What you can do in here with the departmental answer performance is you can actually set levels of what you define as your SLA. So what's your service level internally as a department? So you can set to say, right, level 1 is 60 seconds, level 2 is 600 seconds, so 20 or 10 minutes. And then you could set that to 1200 minutes if you wanted to, because how many calls go over there. So you can set your time limits here as a report. What you would then do is you would select in your directory items that department. Now, for those that don't know much about the select items here, when you select an item, you obviously, first of all, on the left under here, you choose the department you want to run against. So I'm just going to select everybody here. And then this level selector at the top then here chooses at what level you want to break it down by. So if I select level 2 to start with and click OK to this, what you'll see is I'll get a rows on the left of just departments. So I'd get the department names here. Now, if I'm going to be sending that to someone, it'll give me a good overview of, you know, how many calls were answered within 60 seconds, answered within 60 to 600, and answered over 600 seconds. You'll be able to see at a high level, you know, which departments this is happening on. If I want to send it to a manager, though, it doesn't really help me. So what I want to be doing is adding in level 3, because I want to be seeing who in those departments is it ringing on that one, who's not picking them up. So I then, in my directory items, I select my level 3 and I click generate. And what you'll now see is I'll then get the end users appear under the department. So I can then go to see under here, and then I can see the detail in here of what's going on. So I can see how many calls were not answered and how many of those calls were answered within those time brackets that I've defined on the right here.
And for some of our customers, right, I guess they'd have to go to level 4, even level 5, depending on how their directory's set up and
yes,
to get to this level.
Yeah, so it depends on how many levels you have here. Ours is only a 3-level system. Yeah, you may have multiple levels here. You may have cities, countries, etc. at the higher level to select down. Again, though, once you've got this report, you can then schedule it to then be emailed to the department head, so they can see how many of those calls are happening. Okay, so that's looking at a generic sort of higher level. How do I get the stats of calls over 20 minutes? If you're looking for individual calls, i.e. I want to know who and where the calls over 20 minutes were ringing, what you would need to do is you'd need to go into your analytics.
And we'll let you touch on this very quickly today, although it's not an analytics session.
Correct, yeah. And under your call lengths, there are ring time here. And there is also a response time. It depends on what system you're using here. So we would be a response time or a ring time. And what you would say is where it is greater than, say, 10 minutes. And we'll do this year, see how many of them there are. There's one call that's greater than 10 minutes here. And that one took 19 minutes 34 seconds before it was answered, and they spoke for 1 minute 59. And again, let's say I now want to be alerted on that. I want to know every time that happens. Again, you would just follow the alert, the alert job from here, click confirm, follow the wizard. Now, the only difference with following this here, call ring over 20, just call it that for the time being, is in your target data, you'll have a new option that becomes available, and it would say alert on new data only. So what it will do is every time it runs, it will go, right, I got to this point last time. I now need to check the next set. I'm running at this point. I need to check the set afterwards. Okay, so that's what the alert on new data only does. And that again would send you an alert of a call was over 20 minutes it was ringing for, and then you could go and question what was going on. Maybe there was someone off sick, and maybe you need to go and move your staff accordingly to go and support that department to answer their level of calls.
Thank you. So I've just popped the get started link in the chat there for everyone. We did analytics on the last Ask the Expert session. We actually covered this in a lot more detail. Yeah. That's on that page. Lots of other really good training videos, documents. Have a look at that after this call. If there's still things you can't find, again, as we've said before, talk to your account manager. We can talk about training specific to you, answering your questions. Thank you. Okay, so the next question, Pratisha from Maersk. So This one's about when can I get the zero usage report from Tiger Prism. So the report's available. I'm conscious with the size of the environment that there may have been some challenges, but we've actually upgraded you at Maersk recently, and this report is now up and running, and it will work for everyone regardless of the size of your estate. Matt, do you want to just give us a quick overview of that, please?
So just to explain what a zero usage endpoint report is, for the user for you that don't know, this is looking at all of your endpoints that are available within your directory that have not generated a CDR record or a call over the period you've selected. So if I select, say, from the 1st of January to today, and I generate that, what it's now gone and done is it's selected all of my data. It's then gone and looked at all of my directory and married up all of the things to go, right, has ADM JL made a call, okay? And if it hasn't made a call, it will put this in the report in here, okay? So it will go through and it does all the marrying up. So for example, extension 2003 hasn't made a call, but it is in our directory, okay? So what I could be doing is looking at this and going, right, well, I've got a zero usage for George here. Why hasn't George made a call since the 1st of January? And it could be they were on long-term sickness. It could be someone was on maternity leave and so on. Therefore, we can leave that extension number where it is. Or we can make the decision, because it hasn't been used since the 1st of January, to go and speak to the development manager and go, right, well, George hasn't used this phone since the 1st of January. Can we take that license back? Can we recycle it and go and give it to somebody else within the business? Because we don't want to go and buy another 100 licenses. We know we've got all of these here available to us. They've not been used. Let's go and put them somewhere else.
Or more to the point, for those particularly running this for the first time that haven't done it before, they may find there's 100 licenses they can stop paying for.
Correct, yes. So this is all about taking your data, understanding, have they used it? Can we recycle it? Can we save money by going, right, they're not being used? And because it gives you the department names and the people, you've got the information of where you need to go and ask these questions. Obviously, larger environments, you won't know whether George is on long-term sick or somebody is on maternity leave, because you don't know all 20,000 people in the business. But if you know the department, you can find out who the department head is and you can ask those questions directly. It will help you understand and manage your licenses on your phone system.
And what's the format you can export this in, Matt?
So they can be exported in Excel, CSV, or you can put them in a PDF. Now, obviously, if you export it in Excel, it allows you, then you can do additional things like take parts out of that.
You could create a pivot.
You can create a pivot. You can do what you need to on the system, but it's there, it's available. You've got your data and you can carry on. Just as a note on this one, by default, it does, I think we've turned it off now. There is on some of these here having the top X on the report. Some of them may be set to 250, okay, on here.
So we've just had a question come in. Can the zero usage endpoints be limited to only show Teams users with a phone number assigned?
Unfortunately, at the moment, no, but just as a note on that, there is a separate way of doing it. So within the Office 365 module here, under reports, there is a license insight report, and under the license utilization, if I select this here, generate that. There is a how many calls they've made and received here. So again, you would need to know whether that license in here, the assigned product, allows them to have a phone assigned or not, or make or receive calls, but it does give you the products that are assigned and how many calls they've made and received over here. But yeah, unfortunately, at this moment in time, we don't have one that says whether they are voice enabled or not.
Okay.
Hopefully that though helps you get to where you need to roughly be.
Yeah, and when this session finishes today, this event finishes today, there is a feedback form. So one of the things we'd like to put into that form is, what would you like to see in the next Ask the Experts? And one of the things on our list is actually to look at some of this licensing functions within Prism. But if you want to see more about that, put it in your feedback when you complete it at the end of the event. Yeah, we're more than happy to spend some more time on that in the next Ask the Expert.
Okay.
Thank you. So the next question is from Gunnar Shemka. So, interested in MS Teams call queue and Cisco hunt group reporting?
They're two very different things, so I'm going to treat them very separately at the moment. So I'm going to start first of all with the traditional hunt group reporting. So we can do hunt group reporting in reports and in dashboards. So we'll start with the reports. This is what it's focused on at the moment. So how do I generate data based upon a hunt group? So again, using your incoming, because you want to be looking at incoming calls, what we can be doing is looking at our first point of answer, target, response analysis, for example, here. Now, not all of the reports have the ability to filter on hunt groups, but this report here and the endpoint answer performance report definitely does. So we'll start here just so we can go through this. So on our right-hand side now, under our parameters, what we can now have is the ability to select what are known as hunt groups. And I can then come into here and you'll be able to see all of your hunt groups that are available and configured on your system. And you can then filter on these, select the hunt group that you wish to report against. So I'm going to say I want to see all calls going into hunt group 8000. And I generate this for, let's choose, it's the beginning of this month. So what I should do is I should get 17 rows back, because weekends we didn't have any calls, but close enough here. So you get a line each day to say, right, on this day for that hunt group, because I've selected hunt group 8000 here. On April the 4th, we had one call and one call hit our target. So we specify our target times here of 20 seconds, how many calls were in target, over target, etc. And then it'll give us our totals at the bottom here. So for a manager managing a hunt group, maybe a weekly report like this may be useful to, okay? Because what they're looking for is an overview of how well is my hunt group report performing, what's going on, how many calls are coming in, how many are not being answered, how many are busy, etc. in here.
And I guess depending on a really big estate, I mean, like, you know, Schenker, where we've asked the question that actually they may want it daily.
Yeah, you could get it daily and it will break it down here. So what we will be looking here as well is maybe the endpoint answer performance report. And again, choosing our hunt group 8000 is we're actually looking as well as who and where are these calls getting picked up. Okay, so again, selecting my hunt group, select it for the 17th. What it's saying is, right, so calls went into 8000, where were they picked up? So what was the answer point of those calls? So where were they getting picked up? So in here, they called 2000, it hit 8000, and then was answered at 803. There was 2 of those calls, and they were all answered here. And on the right-hand side as well, you do have the voicemail column. So if you have configured voicemail within Tiger, again, if you need to know how to configure that, send us in an email. We can show you how to configure voicemail on the system, and it will then tell you how many calls then fell over to voicemail as well because they weren't answered.
We are touching on that later actually with network voicemail. So
okay, we will then cover off, you know, how to set those parts up in here. So again, selecting the reports and then choosing your hunt groups from the drop or from the menu here will allow you to filter your report based upon a hunt group rather than what you may have been doing traditionally, which is maybe going and selecting a department. from here, okay? So that's the key distinction between the two, is you can just filter on hunt group rather than choosing a department. So the other part from here is looking at this as a dashboard. So I may be more, rather than waiting for the end of the day to see my report come to me, I may be wanting to issue a dashboard to a staff member to look at their hunt group and how well they're performing. So again, we'd come into our dashboards, incoming and hunt groups. And first of all, you will need to choose which source that their hunt group will be on. Okay. And then you would then choose from here the hunt groups that you want to select from the list here. And then it will come up on the dashboard here, how many calls were answered, how many calls were unanswered, the individual calls, including the phone number that's coming in, who's picking up the calls, how many of them were answered, etc. on here.
So just in a similar, before we go to the Teams question,
Sure.
I've just had a question come in as well. So similar to the hunt group report, is there also a way to see calls for the Avaya VDNs?
So with the Avaya VDNs, they can be available in the hunt group reports, and they can be available as hunt groups in the reports as well, but they need to be configured within the system. So what we'll do is, if you could raise a ticket to the support desk, what we'll do is we'll come back and talk to you about how that's configured, because they need to be set on the data collection node to know that VDN 123 is a VDN, so we learn it as a VDN and insert it into the system as such.
Okay, so there you go, Adrian. If you raise a support request on the web form, we'll have a look at that for you. Okay, so the second part of the question was around the MS Teams call queue.
Yes, so the second part is, so with Microsoft call queues, at the moment, the only way you can get data for them, unfortunately, there isn't a report for it. There is analytics for the data, and there is dashboards. So what we will... and
again, on our last analytics session, we did actually demo the Teams reporting.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
So under the full insights here, we have call queues. And in here, what you'll be able to do is define or choose which call queue you're interested in for Microsoft. And you can then select the date range. Let's choose the queue here. And you'll be able to see then who picked up calls into those call queues, what was the average response time, how many of them answered, how many of them were unanswered in here, the talk times, etc. of the Microsoft call queues, okay? As I said, there isn't a report yet on here. It's something we would love to talk to customers about what kind of information would you like on a report. So, you know, if it's something that you are looking to maybe send on a weekly, daily basis to managers because you don't want to give them access to the dashboards, please do reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to talk to you about that.
Okay. So yeah, Kuno, there's your answer for the team side of it. Have a chat with your account manager and the sales team, and we can look at raising product backlog item to get that built into Prism. Okay, thank you. So the next question is Hannah from South Norfolk and Broadlands Council. So which report is best to accurately report call queue call volumes, incoming calls, abandonment, etc., with the least amount of manual manipulation to summarize the data? So, you know, look, this is a common theme we have as well, right? Yeah, can Prism do it for me? That's the question, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So as I mentioned on here, if it is down to your Microsoft Teams call queues, we really want to open a dialogue up with you guys as customers to understand what the requirements are for that side of it. Because unfortunately, I say there isn't a report for that. In regards to anybody that's on traditional PBXs and one still wanting to report on that, then again, all of the ones that I covered before under your incoming, looking at your departmental answer performances or here, you can, as I said, select from your hunt group, select here, and that will then do all your calculations for you. It's all predefined. You don't need to worry about that because the data is all pre-canned and how it comes back out of the system. And you can then export it, upstream the data, do whatever you may need to. And it may be something that, you know, this is about reporting, but if you're looking to maybe upstream this data from Tiger Prism, sometimes the formatting of these reports aren't great for you to upstream. So maybe it's something that you'd look at is using our export function. Our export function has the exact same reports that you've seen on the other screen. It has the exact same parameters that you saw on the other screen. The only difference between it is when you generate the data, it becomes in a tabular format that you can then export to a CSV file and upstream from there. So rather than having it in an Excel file with, you know, harder to format, and you've got to export it, save it again, move it around, put it in the format that you need. The exports are predefined in a comma separated format that can be imported straight into another system.
More of a data dump. So even though there might be some manipulation required, it's much easier manipulation.
Correct, yeah. So if you're talking about manipulating the data, the manipulation's already been done here for you. We've done all the summing up, we've done the departments, we've done all of the value adds to the data. All you would need to then do is put it into what you may want to present back to your end users.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to jump to a question from Philip from Newcastle University saying network voicemail. And then we're going to finish with a couple of more sort of almost analytics-based questions, but they're good questions, so we will cover it today. So Philip's question was, I wonder if I could ask a few questions. So term reason, can I ask what redirect is? Has it gone to another phone on the loop? Is it still being picked up? And again, another term reason, pick up, but outcome no answer. Outcome no answer. So there's lots of terminology type questions here, Matt.
Sure.
Can you just give us a bit of an overview on some of this? Because I'm sure others wonder.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know Richard has shared in the chat this URL here, and there is what's known as a flag definition document here. Obviously, what I don't want to be doing is going through every single one here with you guys. Be here for quite some time, but our flag definition document explains in really good detail about what the terminating and initiating reasons and the outcomes all mean in the system. Okay, so for example, if we take a conference call, it just says here what happens on a conference call. So party A, party B brings multiple people in, that then becomes a conference. It may be a divert. So what does a divert mean? So, you know, it comes in, it's been pushed off to a different party without bringing in somebody else into the call. So it's just explaining what all of these here mean. So take some time, digest the data. As I said, I don't want to be sitting here trying to push a lot of information to you. So we've shared the URL, go and download the PDF, have a look, spend the time to look at the data and that's contained in the PDF, and hopefully they should make sense to you at the end of that.
Yeah, okay. And as we said for everything else, if there's still in doubt, give your account manager a shout. We can arrange some additional support just to spend some time with you on that.
Yeah. So one of the reports we looked at earlier had a separate field at the end that said how many calls went to voicemail at the end of the call. So the flag may have been that the call was connected because voicemail answered the call, okay? But you need to know how many of those calls went to voicemail. So how do we configure this? So within your network tile here, on the left-hand side, you have what's known as voicemail ranges. So what you need to do is you need to tell Tiger what is a voicemail number, okay? So this could be a pilot number. This could be the individual port and extension numbers within the system. So to do this, it's as simple as going into the edit mode at the top here. You create what's known as a voicemail range. You say, when did that voicemail number start from? So I'm going to say from the 1st of January. You can set it back as far back as you want to. So what is the beginning number. So this could be either the pilot number or the range. So I'm going to say, well, we have 30 ports on our voicemail. So it's extension 7000 to 730.
And you would just add multiple rows if you're at multiple ranges.
Yeah, you just click add, and you can keep adding in more ranges here. Which source is it on? So if you've got multiple sources, which CDR source is it on? And then a description. So we can say this is our main voicemail. Here, we can. There you go. And then you have a defined section here, this threshold in seconds. So what does threshold in seconds mean? Well, the CDR doesn't actually tell Tiger whether the person left a voicemail or not. So what we have to do is we have to take a calculation on how long a voicemail message is before we define that they've left a message.
So would that include you're through to the voicemail service for
all of the greeting and everything else? So we say on average a greeting on a voicemail is around about 10 seconds. And we can then say that, they've obviously left a message saying, call me, or this is so-and-so, please call me. So including in the greeting and the person leaving a section of voice, we could say it was around 10 seconds. We say anything that's longer than 10 seconds, we defined it as they've left a message, okay? Now, obviously, it's not a one fit for everyone. It could be, you may need to adjust it to 8 seconds. Some people may have longer greetings. You may have to adjust it to 12 seconds, but 10 seconds is a good sort of
guideline,
to start from, okay?
But of course, if you knew, for example, you had a voicemail service where it had a particularly long message, you could set that as its own voicemail range, just that one number.
Correct, yeah. So if you had one that's particularly longer.
Yeah, you might know it's 40 seconds greeting, for example, for various reasons.
Once you've made that, click the save button and it will then create the range for you. And then to add more ranges, click on the edit button.
Yep.
Add more ranges in.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll actually give you a choice, mate. Would you like to do the analytics question or the destination set question next? So
we will, if we do the destination set,
because I think that probably leads nicer into
the other.
So Alan from Wirral University Teaching Hospitals, destination sets is what we've put this under. So is there any way to import a list of numbers into analytics?
So the quick answer to the question is no, you can't import numbers into analytics, but there is a way of importing a set of phone numbers into Tiger that allows you to use those across all parts of the system. So this includes reports, dashboards, and analytics, okay? So that, the whole system is using them rather than just in analytics. So the way that we do this is under your charging module here, you have a thing called custom numbering plans here. And if I go into search here, you'll see under the custom numbering plans, I've got a set of numbering plans here that I've created. Now, to create a new one, it's simple. You click the add button, you give it a name and a description. You can then import into this all of your phone numbers.
So what sort of documents can you import?
It's just a CSV file. And what you can do is you use the download sample data here. It gives you a sample set here. And then what you can do is populate that in Excel with your phone numbers that you need to. And then you re-import it again by importing it through this way. So you add in all of the numbers here, including the custom label that you want to add on to the end of it, and then you re-import it back in on itself. So this is what we know as custom numbering plans. So if I go and look at one that I've created earlier.
Blue key at the moment.
Yep, I have one for our Tiger mobiles, and from in here, it will then say, right, anytime that this number is rung here, it will then put a label against it here. So it will put a label. Now, I've made my life easier by putting a prefix at the beginning of the label, so TGR hyphen. Now you'll see why this becomes useful in a moment, and then a description here. Now, because I've put a prefix on the beginning of it, it allows me now to search for that in analytics. So anything then that's contained in my custom numbering plan here, if I did a search for the word TGR, it will return any time a number has been rang and has that custom label here. So just as a note here, once you've created your custom numbering plans, you do need to go into your tariffs, and you do need to apply the custom numbering plan to the tariff by going into the tariff and click the edit button here and applying your custom numbering plan set here of the one that you want to apply. Okay, so just as a note, if you create one and go, oh, it's still not working, it's probably because you haven't applied it to your tariff here. So just apply it to your tariff. Now, because I've created that numbering plan, I can then go into my reports and I can look at something like my usage and my high-low dial numbers. So what's my most popular dial numbers? And let's go and look at my top 50 dial numbers for, let's go this year in here. So what's my 50 most popular dial numbers? Now, because I used my destination sets or custom numbering plans here, you already see, look, I now know who that is because it's put the TGR, it's put Caroline in there as well here, and how many times Caroline's been run. So
yeah, and without that set, Prism wouldn't know.
Prism wouldn't know. It would come up with mobile, Vodafone, Telefonica and stuff. So what you're seeing here then is, you know, you're seeing that we're ringing internally quite a lot to our mobiles, etc. But these ones here, I could then question why we rang it 394 times. If it's not one in my list, why isn't it in the list? Why are we ringing them so much, etc. So having those custom numbering plans in here really helps, not just in analytics, it does also help on your reports as well. So using it in analytics, just to cover off that last bit about how do I sort of import numbers. So by using the custom numbering plans within analytics, what I'll be able to do then is in my call legs, I will then have my calling label and my called label here. When I drag them into my filters, you'll see that I have a Boolean between them. I change this to all by clicking on the and button here. And I say where it contains the word TGR dash, because that's what I've defined it in my custom numbering plans here. And I say TGR dash in here. And I do that for today.
Have we found it?
We've got one here, and happens to be myself. So it's found all of the ones that have then come into here that's met that custom numbering plan.
Right.
So I did it for this week. Hopefully we should see some more. So there you go. We can see that here it's picked up then all of the extra ones in here. And it could be then again, you'll see that you've got in and outbound calls. So it's not just looking at outgoing, you know, because it's an inbound, we've labeled it, we know who it is at that point. And again, coming back to this, you could then set that as an alert. You could then schedule this to be exported on a daily or weekly basis.
Okay, thank you. Alan, I don't know if you're on the call. Hopefully that answers your question. If you want us to expand on that, just pop something in the chat. So last question that we've got predefined, we'll have a few minutes. So if there are any more questions that you guys want to get in, just get them in the chat now. So the last question is from Michael. It's an analytics question. So what's the quickest way to follow a call from the user dialed in and when it was answered?
Okay, so it's quite simple on here, and I'm just going to add an extra field into analytics. This is called the leg order. So the leg order is the order that the call processed through the system. So step 1 to step 2. Now, the reason I'm adding this in is I'm going to find a call that has more than one leg, just to make the demonstration a little bit easier. So this one here had 6 calls here because the leg order is number 6. So how do I find out the journey of that person? Well, it's quite simple. We just click on the end button here, and it will then show us the journey of that person's call. So what it will do is start from where they came into Tiger, and it will use these flags here, these initiating and these terminating reasons, okay, and the outcome. So what happened? So it came in, initiation is a normal. So normal means it was picked up or hung up. It got redirected. So it moves on to step 2. It was redirected, got connected, was transferred. They did a transfer, so they did an inquiry. And again, looking at these flags, the PDF that I showed a moment ago, what the difference between an inquiry and a transfer is. So a transfer is a blind transfer. So I've just gone transfer, off it goes. An inquiry is I've rang somebody and I've gone, right, I've got so-and-so on the phone from, do you want to speak to them? Okay. And then it was sent off to that person. They then transferred it off. It didn't get answered. And then finally it ended up on 8,000, where it was connected and it was hung up at the end. So to follow end to end, to actually get there is very easy. To find the call that you're looking for by using analytics, drag in the field that you're looking for. So if it's, someone rang in and said, so
you may know the number.
You may know the number of the person that called in because they've made a complaint. You want to see their journey. You type in the number in analytics. You do your search. It will return it back. It will then give you all of your calls in here. You click on what's known as the burger button, and you'll be able to then look at the user experience or the user's journey or the call's journey through your phone system to see where it ended up.
And obviously, if the person said, well, I rang in at about 10:40, you could do a search for, say, 10:38 to 10:42 and look to where the call started based on start time.
Absolutely. So you could use rather than your quick dates, you can look at your specific dates and you can start to filter down to
down to the
hours, seconds, and so on in here to try and find that particular call from your customer to try and work out, why they had a good experience or why maybe they didn't have such a good experience.
Yep. Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. Okay, we haven't had any last questions come into the chat. So that was all our predefined questions. We really hope that you all can take something away from today. You've got the Get Started link in there. Go in, have a look. If there's any more information, documentation, support videos that you think would be good, please do let us know. We're more than happy to create this content and share it out with you. When we end this in a few seconds, you will get a feedback form. If I could ask you, please do fill it in. And what we'd really love to hear is what would you like to see in the next Ask the Expert session?
Thank you ever so much, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day all.
Bye-bye.